Hey, what's going on, my friends, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 5 things I think you should know about this powerful full moon on September 10th, 2022. Number 1, I wrote down big changes. Maybe right now you can feel, or you're already experiencing, big changes, in a sense, coming through into your life, being birthed through you into your life. And sometimes during our spiritual awakening, there's just this feeling, there's like an awareness that the way things have been is changing kind of dramatically. And you might not yet know exactly where you're gonna be at the end of this sort of metamorphosis going on. And sometimes even positive change can initially be perceived as bad, like a monkey wrench thrown into your whole life system. But here's the thing about the changes you may be experiencing. They're probably coming from a deeper part of yourself, a deeper part of your soul, a deeper part of your potential, that all of a sudden, because of all your work and shadow work and stuff like that, you have access to. So once we become, in a sense, mature and ready and at a vibrational match, the changes will kind of come through into our life, basically. But because, again, change takes time, I recommend being patient with the process and not taking stock, not forming an opinion about whether it's good or bad too soon. Because if you are patient, you will see that what's coming through is going to benefit not just you and your life. It's not going to only be an upgrade for you. It's going to be a win-win for everything and everybody involved. Because that's what inspired change is. Inspired change is, in a sense, you could look at it, at least the way I see it, it's like it's sanctioned by the universe. It's in harmony with the grand scheme of things. And I think a lot of us resist big changes because they kind of imply, as they're coming about, that things are going to be different. And different is synonymous with the great, deep, scary unknown. Even if the way things are not good, sometimes, at least our mind, our fearful mind will prefer them to the latter, to the option of a potential of a good thing, but we don't really know. There's no certainty. And yet, it is in this unknown. It is in the uncertainty. It is in having faith and trusting and carrying out these things that are inspired within you that we get to really almost like unravel the mystery of who we are and our potential here on earth. We're never going to reach our potential. We're never going to be able to meet our maker or find ourselves on our deathbed really satisfied, really content, really like, you know what, job well done. I did the best I could, if we don't follow our intuition into the unknown. But this theme in particular, I want to just kind of emphasize, at least for what it's worth, I believe a lot of big changes that you have earned and are ready for are trying to be birthed through you into your life. And even though it might seem initially like it might be disruptive to certain areas, be patient, because you just might find that what you perceive as disruptions are actually probably huge improvements. And in the end, it's going to be a win-win-win on pretty much every conceivable level. Number 2 part of this is I wrote down finding your zone of genius. I think I talked about this recently, actually. There's a book I read years ago when I was going through one of my big transitions, especially it was really when I was finding my life purpose, honestly. And there's a book called The Big Leap by an author named Gay Hendricks. And in the book, it talks about different zones that every human being has. We all have a zone of incompetence. My zone of incompetence would be like fixing stuff around the house. My wife does some of that stuff because she's actually better at it than I am. I am very dumb, very naive, very slow. I'm not good at putting simple bookshelves and stuff together. That's a zone of incompetence. So we all have those, and it's not wise to find it's not wise to put our energy into that. It's best if we can have other people do that, if we can outsource it, if we can minimize it in some way. We all have a zone of excellence. A zone of excellence is something you've just put a lot of time and energy into and it become very good at. Not great, but good. For example, I was a very good personal fitness trainer many years ago because I worked out my whole life since like 8th grade and I became certified and it was my career for like 10 years. So at the end of it, I was sharp, I was experienced, and I was a damn good trainer. But it wasn't my zone of genius. As I said in the beginning, this is not about you becoming good at something because you put your time in. This is about sort of unveiling maybe a part of you you didn't even know existed that allows you to shine in a way that is maybe even surprising to you. Where you're like, whoa, who is this person? Where is this coming from? And I would experience that when I would make certain YouTube videos. I liked to make YouTube videos. And when I started my YouTube career, believe it or not, I had 5 different YouTube channels, 5 separate channels, because I couldn't decide what I wanted to talk about. I had one about growing marijuana. I had one about fitness. I had this one I put very little energy into, the Victor Oddo one, which is the one you're watching right now. And I found that when I was making my Victor Oddo videos, which were just sort of like my own random thoughts on life, I found that I would talk about spiritual matters quite a bit. And I noticed that there was this one video I made a long time ago where I was discussing this experience I had when I was in a drug rehab, where I had kind of like it was like a near-death experience without dying. It was like a mystical encounter. And anyway, I was discussing it in this particular video, and I was almost like mesmerized at witnessing the way I was communicating. It's like a different part of my consciousness came through and was speaking through me in this video, and it felt good. It felt like very energizing. I felt a lot of energy flowing through me, and I thought, there's something here. And that's me making videos. You and every person on this planet has their own zone of genius. Now, I could have never in a million years predicted that one day I'd be talking about spiritual stuff on YouTube, and that's my zone of genius. It's something that just kind of started to come through me, and it surprised me. I didn't understand it. But right now, this full moon is trying to help you become aware of your zone of genius. And for a lot of you, it's probably been under your nose this entire time, but maybe you haven't taken it seriously and give it enough energy to really allow it to show you the potential there. Some of you, like me, it could be kind of random and brand new, but don't be surprised if you find that something you're doing or involved with in this period is lighting you up with passion, with energy, with creative inspiration, and as a result, a lot of joy. 3, it's also a time of having what I wrote down, crazy self-awareness. You might just find yourself catching yourself in the act of doing something unconscious. And it might be surprising. You might notice that, wow, I've been doing this thing my whole life. And all of a sudden, not only am I catching myself, but I'm seeing how ridiculous it is. And I'll give you an example. The other day, I was having kind of my friend Aaron Dowdy and my wife Patty, we have this retreat business called Solina. And there are some changes, kind of, a lot of what's going on with that honestly has inspired this entire video. But there are some internal changes going on, and I ended up sharing some of them with my wife Patty, and she was like kind of upset about it. And I knew it wasn't the time to share the information with Patty because she just got done doing something kind of draining and she was tired. And I knew that if I said this thing now, it was going to just upset her, even though eventually she'd have to figure it out and know about it. And I had this intuition, like, just don't tell her now. Just don't tell her now, Vic. Just don't do it. And what did I do? I told her, and sure enough, she was upset. And then that exact same sort of thing happened the other day with my friend Aaron, where we were kind of having a discussion, kind of a heated discussion about the retreat business. And I knew if I was to call him, the conversation was not going to go well. We're so close, we can feel when each of us are upset from 50, 20 miles away, we can tell. And sure enough, I heard in my head, don't call him now. It's not the time, Victor, it's not the time. But I did, I called him. Sure enough, as I anticipated, it was not the greatest conversation. But anyway, I realized that I have what people would call an anxious attachment style, meaning if there's an unresolved issue, I'm anxious until it's resolved. Patty is the opposite. She likes to take her time and take her space to think about it, and then she can resolve it. But anyway, my anxious attachment caused two basic problems, unnecessary problems between my best friend and my wife. And it's embarrassing, but I've been doing that my whole life. I've been just sort of insisting that all my different interpersonal relationships resolve things right away because I wanted to. It's selfish, it's immature, I'm a little almost hesitant to share it so bluntly with you, but the fact is I finally am becoming awake to that and realizing this is stupid. This doesn't work. It doesn't work. Victor, you got to learn to kind of sit with the anxiety because you know what? It's not always a time, it's not always a place, and you're upsetting your loved ones. Give them their time and space, dude. So anyway, again, this is me, an example of me becoming aware of a pattern I've had my entire life that's probably been the source of a lot of problems, unnecessary problems in my relationship, and finally I'm aware of it. And it's kind of a big pill to swallow, especially as I articulate it for you there, but it's like, wow, I feel like going forward, things are gonna be different. The full moon aligned me with different scenarios to really hammer this point home to the point where I do believe that things will be different and a lot of good will come of it. But you might find yourself becoming aware of some of your unconsciousness, perhaps during this full moon, which even though there's not an immediate recognition of the benefit, if you just think about the implications of you becoming aware and no longer perpetuating that cycle ever anymore, it's actually quite profound. Number 4, balance and more energy. Because of you coming into the awareness of your zone of genius, you might also become aware of just how other things are maybe imbalanced. Your higher self probably wants you to start putting more time and energy and resources into this thing that really is in harmony with your true self, this zone of genius of yours. And you might find that there are certain things that are really infringing upon your ability to do that. And you just might find that you have a more sensitive, clear awareness of all the energy dynamics at play in your life. And I'll give an example for me. I'm finding that I sometimes bite off more than I can chew with my online business because I look at it by how much time I put into it, which for a job is very, very little. I'm off usually only a couple hours of work a day, 3 or 4 hours a day, maybe 4 or 5 days a week. But what I'm finding is making even one YouTube video, for whatever reason, it requires a lot of energy. And I can't record, I can't do what I'm doing now nearly as often as I thought because it requires so much physical and mental energy, even though we're talking, it's like a 20-minute video I'm doing here. So this is causing me to kind of reorganize pretty much my entire life flow so that I can be more balanced and have more energy and use my energy more wisely. So that, again, this is just an example from my own life. You might find yourself having a very similar conversation with the goal of optimizing your finite amount of energy on a given day. Number 5, returning home. Not going home to see your parents necessarily. Coming home to what I would say is your home frequency. Getting your life back in alignment, on many levels, on many even minute levels, so that you can really just, that's the best way I could put it, is your home frequency, where your life is a reflection of your true self. Now, with that said, a lot of us, me included, we've been astray. We're spit into this earth scenario, forgot our connection to source, became quite unconscious, and sort of been wallowing in the shadows with very muddled vision, investing ourselves and gaining momentum in areas of our life that maybe have nothing at all to do with who we actually are and what we came to do. And this full moon is like a bright spotlight saying, here is where you don't belong, here is where you do belong. And sometimes that gap to bridge might seem stressful, like moving or something big, but it's a time to do it. It's a time to kind of do what you know to do. It's a time to not ignore the energetic feedback you're getting from all the different areas of your life. Some things are going to be calling you. Some things are going to feel light and resonant and inviting and like they are in harmony with your own biochemistry. This is good. This is me. And other things will be like a distorted feeling in your energy field and heavy and not fun and draining and creating other imbalances in your life. And it'll be obvious. It's a time to do what you got to do to minimize that and to have the trust and the faith and the courage to dive in to the other thing I just got done describing. And as you do this, you will find that you will wake up probably not too long from now realizing that your life is different and you are happy and you have balance and you have energy and you have purpose and you have abundance and you have freedom and you have amazing friendships and family and you are where you have always belonged, and now it's the time to come home.